Silk, the innovation of trade on the Silk Roads by LiaLSilk3. Originating in China, the art of silk weaving traveled along the Silk Road to many different groups of people. For the first silks were found in China from 5,000 to 7,000 years ago. The Chinese traded silks mainly to the east, to Persia, Byzantine, and Syria. Chinese silks were highly prized in ancient Rome. This relationship between the two countries led a forging trade route between the East and the West, China and Rome. Peasants harvested silk from mulberry trees. Merchants bought silks from artisans and traded the silks on the Silk Roads. Silk from China was valued by the East, who traded their horses for this luxury good. Silk came from moth cocoons which hung on mulberry trees. The cocoons were soaked in hot water so that it could be unraveled into silk strands. Silk strands were twisted together to create a thicker strand, which then was woven together with other thicker strands to create a sheet of silk. Silk was often used for clothing, bedspreads, cushion covers, and decorative wall hangings. Silk was the base luxury item traded on the Silk Roads. Buddhism and many other religions that flourished along the Silk Roads were important to silk making because many silks were made with religious designs. Silks were traded in camel caravans. They were often traded by China for horses. Silk making started 5,000 to 7,000 years ago. The art of silk was perfected in China during the Neolithic era, the last Stone Age era. During the Han Dynasty, silk reeling and spinning was a household duty. The first evidence of silk being considered a textile goes back to at least 5,000 to 3,000 BCE. Silk making originated in China. Silk was made by all social groups of women. Silk trading took place mostly to the east, usually to Persia, Byzantine, and Syria. As silk was traded throughout the Silk Roads, it was turned into textiles in many different cultures. Silk became a popular textile through many forms of cultural diffusion. Stories, myths, and people that traveled along the Silk Roads influenced the styles of silks made. Different styles of silks were copied throughout trade on the Silk Roads. Silk was often inspired and designed by religions that traveled along the Silk Roads, especially Buddhism. Paintings were copied onto silk tapestries during the Song Dynasty. A drawn loom was a common tool to weave silk, which developed in Persia and spread along the Silk Roads to many different cultures. Silk helped people learn about different cultures because of the different designs and motifs on the silk. Islam was very important to silk because the finest silks made were Islamic in style. Silk was the base luxury good traded on the Silk Roads because it was light and easy to carry large quantities of it through rough road conditions. Silk was also a common material for clothing on the Silk Road because it was warm in the winter and cool in the summer. It was a great textile to trade because it was valued by many cultures. Silk was also an expensive good because it was difficult to make.